Hakan, Anudeep and Pankaj. I think after the coffee we can give them an applause. So we got this discussion going, harnessing FinTech to boost post-COVID economy. So you know, when we guys connected on the call, it was a silence. And the first reaction came in that if you're talking about COVID, it has to be with Corona. And that's what we did. We opened up the Corona models. And we got the topic. So I think there's something good that COVID has given us. You know, it has given us more time to have Corona. Going more on the topic, I asked them for a quick bio. And I'll start with that. And I'll tell you a fun fact about each of my speakers so that you know them well. On my right is Pankaj. I asked him for a bio. He said, I'll send you a small bio, and I got a 2-page write-up. So Pankaj, I will have to sum this 2 pages in next 1 minute. Wherever I miss out, you'll have to meet them personally to update that. So that's how Pankaj introduces himself. He is a Vice President for Insurance Services, a highly seasoned insurance professional with over 2 decades of working experience in the insurance industry, profound knowledge in operations, management, business relation, insurance, business development, customer relation, business strategy, risk management, change management, strategic thinker. Pankaj, when did you get time to study, to do your professional courses? Sure. Thanks, Pankaj. On my left, extreme left, is Hakan. So when I spoke to Hakan, he said, I'm an introvert. And in the 30-minute call, he spoke for 29 minutes. So, Hakan, I have taken the Fevicol off the glue off your hand. The mic is going to slip after 3 minutes. It has a timer attached.
Hello, everyone.
So Hakan is, he's a CTO and main specialty in all aspects of web-based B2C and B2B application development. He's currently working on technology infrastructure and development of B2C to the part of banking retail customers, B2B for banking products distribution and for third-party applications. He has knowledge and experience in the areas of open banking, which I believe you will discuss with us in detail.
Yes, I hope so.
The concept of digital banking, digitalization or retail banking. Wow. And he says he can answer any questions that come in from the panel.
I think so.
I think you wrote it for me.
Well, if I write it, I will ask you.
And on my left, immediate left, I have Anudeep.
Hello.
Anudeep is a chartered accountant in India, is a partner in Surya Chandra and Associates and also co-founder of a great startup called Black Coffee Consulting. Owing to his experience of over 7 years in finance and advisory, Anudeep is a tremendous exposure in the areas of statutory audit, risk advisory, transaction structuring, advisory, internal audit, domestic and international taxation, to name a few. Rest, I believe you will name in the session. There are things left? Sure. So thank you so much, and with this introduction, I think we'll just go ahead with the session, keeping our timing to about 50 minutes as what we have. So maybe I'll start with Hakan. Sure. Hakan, before we go more into harnessing FinTech, first let us understand various FinTech ventures in your specific industry. Let us understand that a bit more.
Hello. Today I want to talk about the topics of the retail banking and FinTechs. I think that many of you know the payment services. This is an already developed area like PayPal, Stripe, checkout, forms like that. And now there's a developing area that like wallets, Marshek Neo in here, also Papara in Turkey. It's kind of a digital cards and digital money concepts. But in my area is the retail banking product distribution part, the marketplace of the banking products. I think this area is still so undeveloped, and after the COVID, there's a boosting, there's a catalyst effect of the COVID, so this area will be the biggest of the topics, I think. And now there's an example for a retail banking marketplace like Yalla Compare is the biggest in GCC right now. Credit Karma is the biggest in the USA, and I think this concept will be will dominate the retail banking area.
Exactly. Pankaj, more on the insurance side of FinTech, and if you can share a couple of success stories if you know about these FinTech startups.
So, COVID has been a big boon for the insurtech industry also, and I mean, if you see world over, after the lockdowns and everything, the digital part of the insurance industry has really been a big enabler and complete change in the industry, working standards and everything, and all new opportunities and everything has been created. So a lot of success stories also got created in the last 2 to 3 years during this period. In fact, in India also and abroad also. So if I give some examples of that, I classify most of the insurtechs into kind of 3 kind of categories. The enablers, what I can see, who have been partnering with the insurance companies to bring about new products and everything. They have been a lot of, there have been a lot of, for example, in India you have Policy Bazaars and other cover box kind of insurance enablers who are there, and even in abroad, who have been helping the insurance companies and broking firms bring about new distribution models and everything. Then there are the providers also, and there are a complete set of new challenges also. I would be, I would really, talk about the challenges part of it, because that is where the new set of rules have been defined in. They have completely taken over the industry now in a completely new way, where they are taking over the risk part of also the insurance kind of part of it, and bringing out a lot of new products which were undefined, and the traditional insurance companies were not moving into those directions, and that is because of the FinTech and the digital part.
And how was the period when everybody was coming in for the health insurances during the COVID?
That was a really tough time. I mean, I'm sure it was world over. Nobody had anticipated kind of things. I mean, we were also stretched out as like the other industry, which is the hospital sector, and really tested everything. All the infrastructure, right from the physical infrastructure to the digital infrastructure. Both the sectors were kind of under stress, and they were tested at the peak level. And a lot of companies have come out very successfully out of that.
Thanks, Pankaj. Moving to Anudeep. Anudeep, FinTech in general, any specific you want to touch upon with some success stories?
Right. Well, thank you for that lovely introduction. And so I'm going to be sector agnostic here. My co-panelists are from insurance and banking, and I lead a lot of startups. So just to give everyone an idea about FinTech. So FinTech is revolutionizing the way the banking industry is functioning in terms of delivery of the services, in terms of the way it interacts with the customers, in terms of even the product innovation. And what essentially happened is it has personalized the way that the services are developed to a common man or a common woman. And this has helped every common individual access conventional finances in a much better and easier way. So with COVID hitting us, definitely everyone is taken aback. But FinTech is one of those industries which has been moving forward irrespective of COVID, and it is transforming the way the banking system works across the world, and especially in India, because I personally consider this a leader in the FinTech revolution. But coming about how FinTechs are, so FinTech generally started off as something for digitalizing payments. That was the main goal of financial technology. But now what we can see is it has diversed itself into multiple branches, into multiple areas. So we have FinTechs which are into lending, which are into credit FinTechs, which are agri-FinTechs, health techs, insurtechs, and even ancillary services such as financial planning, advisory and stuff like that. It's because of this diversification that it has helped the fintech sector a lot. Wherever there is an opportunities to solve a problem, it is doing that. And the main idea of, or the main from an economic perspective for fintech, it's in the economy, it's to bring out, it's to meet two expectations. One is for financial literacy and the other is for financial inclusion. I mean, I'll speak about that more later. But coming to Indian perspective, India has been a leader in fintech revolution where technologies like no other have been introduced in India. And in 2020, the fintech sector was valued at 1.95 lakh crores. And it's expected to go up to 6.95 lakhs in 2025, which is a CAGR of 22.7%, which is very, very, outstanding for an industry in the nation state, but not specifically in India. But having said that, fintech is definitely a provider to boost the economy in terms of it's revolutionizing a lot of businesses to become financially inclusive and thereby contributing to the economy.
Thanks, Anudeep. Again, going back to you, more specifically into the banking, more specifically into Turkey, where you come from. Just help us understand, how the COVID pandemic has affected the fintech sector. Basically, what we really want, you to let us know is the impact and the experiences gained in the specific industry, specific country, and maybe a personal question, if not banking for you, what other fintech you would have picked up considering the COVID period?
Actually, I also built my fintech startup in the COVID process because there is a regulation changed in Turkey after the COVID that before the COVID, like in many countries, Turkey doesn't have the system that in banking accepting people to verify their identification in digital. So the digital onboarding concept and digital ID verification concept was prohibited in Turkey in banking for banking. And after that, after the COVID, they need to change regulation because we lost all the branches. So COVID created full potential of the digital end-to-end experience for the users to apply bank products, to open banking accounts. So we think that we and my partner that we can go to that area. And we are now the fastest growing fintech in retail banking because the whole system changed. So thanks to COVID, Turkey now has an end-to-end experience in accessing the banking products. There are more to do. It's not fully developed yet, but it will be, I think. And not only in Turkey, the regulation changed some other countries also during the COVID. So I think it will globally affect that. I think in the future there will be no bank branches because there is no need, there is no demand. The people don't demand to grow branches if they don't have to. So there will be new banks. We can see the digital banks, fully digital banks without branches. So I think this concept is both for both banks and the users, more cost effective, more efficient, product diversity increasing. So I think this concept will be fully dominate the sector, I can say that.
Maybe a couple of related questions here. Coming pure from a technical background, working a lot on the technology, how easy or difficult it is to explain about your product to, banking where they are more traditional, telling them to move away from their traditional model. And what if, the branches come closing down, how does that impact?
The technological part is not like a nuclear physics, so it's easy. It's not that hard to integrate with the systems. The banks have already developed their inner systems amazingly. Their core banking systems are perfect. But the point is that banks' economical model. So think about that. You have 5,000 branches, and you let a bank without 0 branch to compete with you. So they force and influence the regulators that this shouldn't be happening. They want that people still need branches. This is because before the COVID, this system is not passed. The same problem is also in the USA. So the huge banks like Bank of America, Chase, They are forcing regulators that don't let this because of the fraud, etc., etc. But the world is developing, the world is going to the future. So COVID lets us, let fintechs to penetrate this ecosystem. So eventually they lost or they lose. So there is no meaning for any branches right now.
And so we see a new revolution coming in pretty soon.
Yeah, I hope so. I will be part of it.
Well, moving to you, Pankaj. I actually wanted to go to one thing, but I think my neck is not allowing me to see moving. I'll come back to you. So, Pankaj, to you, a similar kind of thing, what have been the experiences gained? I think when I spoke to a lot of my friends in the insurance industry, they said, we want the pandemic to get over so that we can work less. We have been working for 48 hours out of the last 24 hours. And we still have some pending thing, and everybody wants to work. The deadline was everything for that was yesterday. So, how has your experience been, and how FinTech, do you believe, has helped you, working for maybe lesser hours or more hours, and how the experience has been gained in the period?
Yeah. So, this said, the good part of it. I mean, I will see the good part of it of the COVID. Particularly if you see the digitization of the insurance operations. Again, it was similar to what Hakan was saying. It was similar to the banking industry, what has been in the traditional form for a lot of years. But due to this pandemic, the digitalization part of the insurance industry got accelerated leaps and bounds. I mean, everybody had to accelerate, go to the digital model to, and bring about new products, new services, everything, to serve the customer in a better way. And that has been a big, you can say, a takeaway from the COVID pandemic. And see, because you see, a lot of people, basically insurance is based on trust. Okay. So digitalization of the insurance also was based on that same aspect. So if people trusted the process also, they will also trust the insurance companies in that way. And whoever has done it, they have been good beneficiaries out of this. And the good thing about, as I said, in a lot of processes, like even in India, if you see, telemedicine was only talked about, right, for so many years. Everybody knew the good part of it and the advantages of it. But COVID really got the breakthrough. I mean, the regulator also accepted it, the health industry also accepted it, and it has been now included as a part of the health industry also. So this has been that is what I would say, a silver lining of this COVID pandemic.
So you have taken the trust also digital.
Yes, absolutely.
Trust in God has also gone digital.
Yes.
Everything now happens digitally.
Yeah, because that is what happens when you have lockdown. You can only trust the digital world.
Thanks, Pankaj. Well said. I have a note with me, a digital trust. And I think digital trust more would be used in banking, because there is, you play with your own money.
Yes, digital trust is important, but not trust. I think the regulator should protect people right there, not before.
Trust would come in when the regulator gives them that security aspect.
Yes.
Thanks. Arvind, how do you want to take it? Any specific industry you want to talk about? Maybe I'll for the benefit of the listeners, your specific experiences in that. Maybe some of your clients would have done that. Maybe you would have been involved in some of those. So let's hear about those.
Yeah. So definitely, COVID has impacted all of us in numerous ways, and mainly it's talking about the industry specific. It's led everyone into adopting digital means and methods of doing business, and that caused the need for digital transformation. So what, according to my experience and what I've seen, I mean, again, statistics support this. In the initial half of 2020, obviously there was a slump in the investments in FinTech, purely because the entire economy was going to stand still across the world. So that put a bottleneck on the investments that were coming in. So what this forced people to do is to go back to the drawing board, to analyze, regroup, and re-strategize themselves, purely because what COVID did was it shifted our consumers' priorities. which was necessary for people, and it also forced people to change the way they deliver the services. So people who had to deliver the services had to keep the changing interests in mind, and that's what happened. And that's led to a lot of transformation. And so this is what the first wave of COVID did. Everyone had to go back to the drawing board. And in the second wave, towards the end of the second wave, we could see a slight increase in the volume of startups, in the volume that the startups are dealing with in terms of investments. And that's just picked up from there onwards. So even if you go by, like I was mentioning about India, the investments that were coming in were much more larger. But in my personal experience, I'll just say two examples of startups, industries. Say for example, credit lending and FinTech. So what essentially happened was when the COVID hit the world, there was a lot of money crunch, there was a lot of volatility, which led to a lot of funds being blocked. So credit lending FinTechs took a massive hit because their money was not circulating. They stopped lending money to people, and also in India specifically, the moratorium imposed by the RBI was a major challenge for them. So this had a negative impact on credit lending startups. But if you see on the contrary, say for example InsurTech, I'm pretty sure Pankaj must be agreeing with this. Insurance was booming, and they were the backbone for the entire world. And InsurTech just boomed. They came up with innovative products. They came up with strategies to reach out to customers, educate them about insurance. So this had a very positive impact for them. So comparatively, different type of fintech startups took a different hit, and I just had to name a few. That's how it is.
Related question to you. Both of them have spoken about the change in the service delivery model. How has the change in the service delivery model in the insurance industry come in?
It has greatly. The service delivery models earlier, the physical mode and everything, they have changed a lot. I mean, even the regulator for the first time approved the kind of the digital claims process also, and that has been a big, again, as I said, silver lining out of the COVID pandemic. And so also like a lot of the small ticket products, which created a lot of awareness for insurance within the large masses, because it is still not understood in a much better way, and people think it is still complicated. But the small products, like specifically for COVID related small ticket products were brought in, and this has again gained a lot of traction. People bought it online, I mean, without being going around to the banks or to the insurance companies, and this has really been a big boost kind of to all the sectors, including the distribution side of the insurance, to the insurance side, to the claims administration side also. And overall, I would say the service delivery models also improved because of this. People are using more chatbot kind of services, the straight through underwriting processes, everything more frequently now because of the requirement also, and because of the digitalization process also.
I have a related question for you, though I'll come back to you later. Just think about it. Insurance in the past has been used to insure.
Yes.
It has been used as an investment tool by people. You think in the COVID period that mindset has changed, that all insurance products are not return based, they are there to insure. I'll come back to you with this, but this is something that I personally noticed, that people were looking at insurance as more as a product to give you a return, whether it is supposed to do something else. So how, I'll come back to that, how the mindset has changed, because we've spoken about FinTech from the industry side, FinTech from the service delivery side. But let's look at how the role of FinTech has played maybe from the consumer side. Let's go from C to B, let's climb up the ladder. I'll come back. Hagan, first to you. Tell me more about innovations in FinTech, specific examples of innovations that have come in FinTech, and how these are, how to say, to boost the post-COVID. Give me specific examples of how things have come in.
For example, let's talk about some open banking concepts. For example,
sorry, I want to also hear about neobanks.
Neobanks, okay, okay, the digital banks and open banking. So, for example, let's go on with an example, yes. Okay, so for example, you have a bank account in A bank, and you have another account in B bank and C bank. So, if you want to access, display, or do something with your account, the money transfer or something, you need to go to the banking application and do what you have to do. But with the open banking concept, the banking as a service logic merges and something like that comes out. So think about an application like that. You open your application, you just give authorization to all your banks, and you can display all your bank accounts on the same page, single application. You can see all your credit cards in single application. You can see all your loans and other products in single application. You can manage them, and you can maybe pay all your credit card bills in one click, or merge your accounts in one click. So it's a third-party management application. So with the open banking concept, the fintech ecosystem has the right to access your banks. In the past, only banks have rights to own your data. Now, after the open banking, the England leads this topic. Thanks to them, it comes like that. My data is my rights. I can share it if you want, if I want. I can manage it from a third-party application if I want. And this is the main changing concept in retail banking.
Two questions for you here. One, the data protection. If everything is on a one click. Second, with metaverse coming in, I can stay at home and physically be at the bank. Do I need a fintech bank?
Actually, first question. If you think like that, data protection, it's your data. So you have rights on your data. If you lose your data, you should be responsible for that. Because you cannot expect the system to protect you every time. You should be responsible about your data. If you want to share, just share it. That will be your freedom. I believe in like that. The first question. And the second question, Meta is not a non-technological concept. It's another technology. So if you want to be in there, there will be new service. Again, the APIs, every aspect of open banking and core banking and banking as a service, you will also need them there. So it's only changes the platform, not web, but glass. So it's the same.
Yeah. So by my metaverse, we are physically there, or virtually there at the bank, and doing all my compliances digitally.
You are not.
So you are actually combining the two.
You are not physically there. You are physically there in your mind. You are not physically going to the bank.
So I think that is that the future?
I don't believe in Meta that much, but I believe that the web services is the future.
Right. Andy, we have heard some, good innovations and things coming up. Generally about from your side, you really want to touch upon anything specific, in healthcare or any other specific industry?
So yeah, I'll be again sector agnostic here, talking about the multiple innovations that have happened. But like I mentioned, I said I would touch base upon financial literacy and financial inclusion, because I think these are important terms to understand how fintech can actually boost the economy. When I talk about financial inclusion, it's about ensuring everyone has access to the financial system. Again, financial literacy supersedes that. Just having access isn't enough. Knowing how to capitalize the access that you have is really important, and that's what fintechs are doing nowadays. They are empowering the common man with financial knowledge so that they can make bold decisions, financial decisions on their own, and to better their life. Talking about financial inclusion, so this is an important topic. Let me tell you why. Because just to emphasize on this, financial inclusion was also in the UN Sustainable Development Goals. That was one of the goals that they mentioned. And also, even a research done by the IMF suggests that countries with higher digital inclusion are most likely to have a higher GDP growth rate. But now, why financial inclusion and how is financial inclusion related to innovation? so in just simple terms, let's just say financial inclusion is ensuring everyone has access to the financial system. So let's take, for example, a company of India, which is 1.3 billion people. Ensuring everyone has access to financial system requires a hell lot of innovation. There's no two ways about it. Innovation is the key there, that happens right there. So talking about this in continuation to this, so let's talk, I'll just give you a couple of examples of how innovation has helped in financial inclusion. Say for example, let me just take a comparative scenario of India and the US. When COVID hit, there were a lot of stimulus packages announced by the governments. So in the US, what happened was, because the financial system is not as advanced as India, touch wood, because US sees and everything, the stimulus checks had to be delivered to the address, and the stimulus checks had to be then deposited in the bank. This is a huge process. In India, what happened was, because of the financial inclusion that was there, say for example, just case in point, agri-fintech startups which connect farmers to the customers directly and enable transactions. Because of this, the common man was able to get normal stimulus, but because of agri-fintech, what happened was that farmers who actually do not have bank accounts, who do not have access to the financial system in other ways, the government was able to contact these fintechs and distribute the stimulus directly to their bank accounts. This is one example of how financial inclusion boosts the economy. But there have been a lot of innovations, because innovation and financial inclusion go hand in hand, like I was saying. Say for example, take InsurTech for example, like I was saying. There were a lot of innovations in the insurance products that were brought about, bite-sized insurance products. For example, in India, we had insurance in PhonePe, for example, at INR 5, which is very, very low. Empowering the end consumer for insurance also led them, to have educational modules in their apps. The other thing is, what I would like to touch base upon, is how peer-to-peer lending has come up. So banks generally do not participate, or they have I would say, misconception in giving out loans to people who do not have a credit background. But when it comes to peer-to-peer lending, it has broken all those barriers and everyone has access to finance. Let's talk about credit, for example. India's economy is mostly the unorganized sector, and the unorganized sector runs on credit. That's the fuel to the unorganized sector. And the credit penetration in India was around 3 to 4% before COVID. But right now, everyone has access to credit. Everyone. Credit is, so we are getting credit based on our scores. People who don't have civil scores, they are charging people based on the transactions that they do, like paying their phone bills, paying the regular electricity bills. That's an innovation that is brought in, because people with no financial background, but who are still paying regular bills, are judged by that. Talking about credit, now an important aspect of buy now, pay later has been very, very upcoming, which is like an upgrade to credit. It just simply enables any person, increases their purchasing power, because you buy now, you pay later. That's been a huge thing. So with this happening, every common man is able to take advantage because of credit, because of buy now, pay later schemes, and the other aspects as well. So when one person is individually doing well economically, that generally contributes to the collective economy doing as a whole. But another important aspect is, say, in India, when you're talking about financial inclusiveness, it's covering everyone there. India is a country, like everyone knows, with 20 odd states, 100 different languages. So the barrier here was communication in multiple languages. So all the fintech startups started enrolling their services out in regional languages. So that broke the financial barrier. So that increases the financial inclusion and then boosts the economy. Then even, for example, a lot of startup accelerators that are having FinTech innovation labs, which promotes FinTech. A lot of technology, like Hakan was talking about in terms of AI, ML, is being used in the FinTech sector. And ultimately, all of this is just going to boost the economy. So just to summarize, if you're looking from the macro perspective, COVID led to digital transformation led to digital innovation, and innovation led to inclusion. Look at it the other way, it still makes sense. Inclusion led to innovation led to digital transformation, which boosts the economy. So that's how it's been.
Yeah, but in the reverse, we minus the COVID.
Yeah, minus the COVID. COVID is the initiator of everything, but minus the COVID, yes.
Cheers. Pankit, coming back to you, the question is already with you. You may add on into some specific innovation that have come in, or you will go climb the ladder up this time instead of going down?
Yeah.
Going from consumer to the bank?
So, as Nitin was saying, insurance, particularly in India, was looked upon as more sort of an investment kind of a product rather than pure risk coverage product or this thing. But lot of change happened because of COVID, in this, and people now have really understood, and also because of the, you can say, the awareness and the importance, both part of it. People have understood the risk part of it now, and surely, I mean, lot of people now look insurance as a part of risk coverage, and now the increase, particularly when if I refer to the life insurance industry, particularly in that, people were earlier happy with the kind of investment products which were there earlier, and the small coverages in that, and they were very proud to say that I got a good return out of this, even when the returns were dismal. But they were happy with those kind of products. But COVID showed them the real face of that. When a lot of people lost their bread winners, and the lifestyle goes for a toss. Everything goes for a toss when your bread winner goes out. So the coverage part of the insurance, now people are looking at the higher sum insureds and everything. They understand what we should do with insurance as of now, with the risk part of it. And that is where again I will say the FinTechs have, the insurtech industry has really come into a picture. Insurers also themselves have been promoting a lot of these kind of products where they are selling term products on a very good competitive basis. Of course, COVID has again increased the reinsurance rates and everything, but still I will say that is still because of the COVID pandemic, the awareness part of the higher risk product has come into picture, and people are slowly moving out of the investment part of it.
Thanks, Patrick. Maybe quick concluding thoughts. Start with you, Andy, first. If no COVID, where would FinTech be? Just show me the trajectory with your hand also in case you want.
That's a good question. So let me put it this way. FinTech in India, and I'm speaking specifically about India because that's where I'm from, but I'm not speaking to the entire world. The FinTech revolution, if everyone recollects, started back with demonetization of the notes. When demonetization started, that's when UPI, the Unified Payment Interface, came into picture, which is the technology that does not exist in any world, which India is still operating from bank to bank, while the world is still operating from wall to wall. So that's a huge difference. So I'm not saying that if not COVID, FinTech wouldn't have been. I'm saying FinTech was already in the advanced stage. What COVID did was it accelerated the growth of FinTech. I would say by 10x. If COVID hadn't been there, it still would be X. With COVID coming into picture, it's definitely 10x. And even India is leading in terms of financial revolution, in terms of even having public-private partnerships with institutions to deliver services. So that's my take. COVID accelerated, but FinTech was always still there in India.
So it accelerated the companies. How did it? I think it accelerated more on the awareness of the people. So was the push more on the companies coming in with solutions, or was it more with the people, getting to those platforms and getting more aware and be more, savvy with it?
So I would say they go hand in hand. COVID brought the awareness of FinTech to people, and because of that, people took the opportunity of creating startups, and with that, people have been onboarded onto that. So that's why I take on that.
Thanks, Arvind. Akan, for the banking, I think you're telling people not to go to the bank, which is a good thing to do in the COVID period. But had no COVID happened, would you think the banking, it would have been the same way where it is today? Or
I actually share the same thoughts with Andy. In retail banking, yes, there's a traditional methods and people are okay with that, but COVID is only the catalyst effect, that accelerated effect. So the technological progress isn't there before COVID, and it will be there in the future. So you cannot block the technological improvement moment. But yeah, it's just gains speed, really gains speed for both regulators to adapt to new system, and for both people, even older people without no relationship technology people, also start to use some digital banking, some digital platforms to use in their life. So I think it just improved the process.
Improve the process. Pankaj, for you, I think it was still, people were still wanting the insurance claims pre and post the COVID period. So how do you think, FinTech actually played that role, or how, if no COVID, would it be in the insurance industry at the same level, even in terms of mindset of the people?
Yes, definitely. If it was not a COVID, I think insurance industry would have taken another 5 or 10 years to get digitalized. It was like that slow moving kind of a trajectory over there. Everybody wanted it to be digital because, as I said, but because of the regulations, because of the acceptance part of it, doing it in the traditional way, that had, you can say, that was creating a barriers even to the insurance industry also. And that is what was, pre-COVID. And if it was not COVID, then it would have, as I said, continued for another 5-6 years or maybe 10 years also probably.
Is it true to say that people wanted their claim faster, so they became digital faster?
Yes, I would totally agree to it.
Thanks. Again, I think we are on time. I have a thumbs up. But any concluding thought you want to say before we hand it over to the audience? I see some of them have their pens and pencils on, so we'll have some questions.
I can take some questions if you have about retail banking technology.
So I think we just have it.
That was pretty incredible. Lots of good information, guys. Thank you. So glad to have you here talking about how COVID affected our life. Who knew? Where we'd be without it, right? Now let's open it up to the group. Oh, we got our first question from Qatar. Yes?
Thank you for the presentation and the discussion. One of the very important things, which data transformation, digital transformation has created, identity breaches. Now, this is an area which you're expert in because, something like the technology sector is the one which is contributing the most to the identity breaches. So, almost $280 billion was laid out in 2020. So, what I'm saying is that, are we moving very fast that we're not looking at that very closely? Some people are becoming, there's a lot of malicious attacks, there's ransomware, there's a lot of things, a lot of data is being, and a lot of the breaches have happened in the healthcare sector in America, as an example. So, I just want to know what are you doing to reduce that, because this will be a big concern, in the future.
Bear with us. Thank you so much for that question. I know we're having a little audio. You hear that going on? Were you guys able to hear the question? You were? Okay, great. Awesome. Who wants to take it away?
So I'll take this up. So as you rightly said, like the last question was where we discussed about how the growth has accelerated. So we only spoke about the positives about the acceleration of the growth, but there are obviously risks associated.
We're back on. Sorry.
That was associated with the risk. I think this was done on purpose.
So coming back to the point, with the growth, there are obviously risks associated, and one of the risks that you rightly pointed out was breach of digital identity. That's bound to happen. There are a lot of risks that are happening, like ransomware, like you mentioned. But as we as an economy, the world as an economy, when we are progressing, it only makes sense, to guard ourselves from all the aspects. When we're talking about FinTech accelerating, we have to also look at the other aspects that are supporting, that are enabling the FinTech to come into picture. Say technology, say data privacy. All of these aspects have to be amped up irrespective of the growth that is there. Because all of these are supporters to FinTech, and as FinTech grows, the investment in the work that is done in these areas also has to grow. So coming, specifically for the healthcare sector, that's news to me about what happened in the US, as you mentioned. But again, I would speak from an Indian perspective, where right now the digital onboarding happens without any documents. It's based on digital identity, and that is one of the strongest identity systems that the world has had. There are no breaches in that aspect. But again, obviously there will be hackers, there will be people who want to play around with technology. It only makes sense as FinTech is growing, as the technology is growing, it only makes sense to guard ourselves in all areas possible to ensure clean and good transactions are happening.
So maybe just to add, that's the new startups which are coming in terms of data privacy, data security. So I believe you've given us a good food for thought for new FinTechs to come up in future.
Fantastic. Good, thought-provoking questions here, which is great. Sorry about this audio. We see there's a cross, and there may be a moment where you guys aren't hearing everything clearly, so just make sure you're speaking closely to the microphone. We're trying to fix it, but what can we say? It's an exciting moment to be riding these live events. So I know we have another question. Come on, Dan.
Hi.
Who are you?
Rahul.
What's your name?
Rahul.
Rahul,
From
nice to meet you.
Renegade. This question specifically for Pankaj. InsurTech, digital transformation. It's been spoken about for the last 10 years, 10, 12 years. Like you rightly pointed out, people were slow, companies were slow to accept it or to digitalize, right? We've seen an exponential growth in the last 2 years, primarily because of the demand, also because of the circumstances of the situation. Some countries or some regions have accepted it well.
Yes.
There are regions, and I'll speak about the US because I do business in the US. US has seen a negative acceptance in terms of digital transformation. Now, do you attribute that to the difficulty that the regulators impose, or do you attribute that to people in the US not accepting technology as fast as any other country? And there is a related question to that. So I'll let you answer the first part.
Yeah. Good question. Thank you for the question, Rahul. The first part of the question, I'll answer that. The regulators are really the catalyst, and they have to be very open, in terms of technology and the new offerings which comes to the market. And they are supposed to be open-minded to the changes what happen, and then only they can enable it. And that is where I would say, I frankly, if you ask me, the Indian regulator has been very, very open. There have been challenges. They have been seen as a very rigid part of, the regulatory aspects. That is part of, being conservative in terms of the safety for the customers, of course. But if you see overall, they have really enabled the industry, and that is where the new innovations happened, and it has opened up. In terms of US, yes, what I see, it's still looked at in a very traditional way of doing the business, and that is where it is getting stuck. The second part of it, where you said that people really accepting it. I'm sure with the tech giants what are there in US, I don't think so. People are not ready to accept it. People are ready to accept it. It's just that somebody has to provide that push. In terms of the simpler product, simpler way of doing the business. And world over, if you go anywhere and see it, people who are not there on the financial literacy aspect of it, still they have accepted the digital fintechs very, very easily, because that is what is ease of doing business, right? So I'm sure US will also accept it, but it's just that the regulator seems to be very, tight-lipped on that process.
Not just the regulator in the insurance segment, I think US throttles businesses in multiple ways.
Yes.
You have the TCPA compliances, you have the FCC compliances, you have the insurance regulator, and then you have the way you're doing business. So a related question, Arudi, you you touched upon some facts about how India is doing great in digital. Right. You touched upon some points where India is really ahead in terms of digital transformation, especially from a banking or an insurance perspective. How or what do you think can the industry as a whole do to address these issues that we have with regulators? How can the industry come together to address these regulation issues?
Yeah, thank you for that. That's a good question. See, I think it's only, so what COVID has taught us is that I think we only lift ourselves when we come together. All of us, that's what happens. So when you're talking about regulators coming together, in India, for example, take InsurTech, IRDA has been very supportive in terms of how it's been keen about allowing a lot of flexible policies and in terms of allowing investments. I think it's only fair that if you take the central government, where all the departments come under specific regulators, it's only with the coordination that happens between these departments that will ease out the problems that are happening and will then boost the economy. So say for example in banking, so recently SEBI came out with a policy for enabling neobanks to launch mutual funds based on certain criteria. Previously that was a very difficult task. So right now I think if I'm not wrong, they have turnovers of the last 5 years you should have a certain turnover, they have to have a certain experience in asset management. So things like these, policies like these will enable people to overcome these challenges. So I'm just giving you one example of just SEBI, but even there are multiple examples even in health tech or even agri tech that are helping everyone to become more collectively and function as an economy.
Incredible. Thank you so much, panelists. We have so much to talk about, so really good conversation. I'm sorry to have to cut it. We have time to keep to our conversation. I know you have a lot of questions. I'm coming over to you later to find out why you've got so many amazing questions. But I do want to give these guys a round of applause, so let's